It appears that the track will take it away to the south, so away from Madagascar, which is good news, because as one of the poorest countries in the world, it will find it very difficult to recover after being hit by two cyclones in such a short space of time. Now over to Australia, and here, this blob in the north, these are still the remains of our cyclone Carlos. It has now lost its tropical identity, but it's still giving torrential downpours there. More wet weather still to come over the next couple of days, and that's not the only cyclone near Australia either. This circulation here, this is Diane, is staying away from the coast, but for the coast, it's still wet.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Thank you, Steph. Now, parts of Iraq are under curfew after protests. A police crackdown and at least 3 deaths. We'll be looking at how the youth there are mobilizing the masses online. And relief, finally, for a Chinese man who couldn't shake years of stabbing headaches.
Qatar, as independent as you are.
See the world from every angle and every side. AlJazeera.
On the next Rizcon show, the battle over blasphemy. Has Pakistan's controversial law become a political tool in the hands of religious conservatives? Rizcon at this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. A reminder of our top stories on Al Jazeera. Tens of thousands of Egyptians are in Cairo's Liberation Square as part of a nationwide March of Victory. It's being called to celebrate the end of Mubarak's 30-year rule. Friday prayers underway there in Tahrir Square. Bahrain's top Shia cleric has condemned Thursday's violence as a massacre by police. Funerals are underway in the capital, Manama, for victims of the assault. And voting is underway in Uganda for both the parliamentary and presidential elections. 7 candidates are challenging President Museveni's bid for a 4th term. Well, several rallies and other events are being held in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, and across the country, in fact, to celebrate the end of President Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. It's been a week now, in fact. Now, following Friday prayers, people will hold a memorial for the martyrs at Cairo's Opera House to remember those killed in the country's uprising. Now, from there, they'll march to Liberation or Tahrir Square, the epicenter of the 18 days of pro-democracy stand. And elsewhere in Cairo, a counter-rally is being held in support of Egypt's old regime and its former president, Mubarak. Well, joining us here in the studio now is Thomas Gorgisian, an Egyptian journalist and writer. He works for the Egyptian online daily Dastur, and he's here in the studio with us, as I mentioned. So, a week now since Mubarak's ousting. Seems like it's been ages already. What's your reaction a week on the situation in Egypt? What's your assessment of the situation?
What's my assessment is that wait and see, as a matter of fact, in general. Of course, many steps were taken, but it's not as most of the pro-democracy movement people say, is too little too late, or it's too little too slow. So as a matter of fact, many steps were taken, including, of course, is the formation of the group that of judges and lawyers who are going to take care of the changes or the amendments in the constitution. And all the sounds are saying, expecting that it's going to be something would say okay, just 2 terms, if not more, not more than 2 terms.
But certainly the military council, the Supreme Council of the military, has taken a number of steps to show that they're committed to a peaceful and smooth transition in Egypt. They've dissolved the parliament.
Yes.
They are, setting up, as you said, a commission to look at the constitution so that elections can take place in 6 months. So what are the chances, really, that the transition could still go wrong?
The chances is the pace, first of all, and then the necessity of doing some real major changes in the government, or those who are like really ruling the everyday life of controlling the everyday life of Egyptians, which is including the police and the finance sector and the banks and the stock market and all these things. Because people they figure out that there is some kind of vacuum, or let's say the old guards, or let's say the people of Mubarak are still running the country. But in ruling that, there is demands are there. Because if you don't demand, as we said, most of the pro-democracy people believe that 25th or let's say 11th of February was not the end of something, it was the beginning of New Egypt, which has to be figured out how to do it and what they have to be asked.
And as we speak, Thomas, we're watching the live pictures from Tahrir or Liberation Square. Friday prayers there being led by the top Egyptian cleric Yusuf al-Qaradawi. You mentioned, of course, the NDP, the dictator Mubarak has been toppled, but the dictatorship, as you said, the rest of Mubarak's power structure is still largely in place today. Do you expect these NDC figures to be able to maintain control of the institutions and businesses in Egypt?
As NDP people, or as a matter of fact, most of the NDP people resigned or somehow, as a matter of reality, dissolved. But still people are there, and then a lot of corruption cases related to the member of these people, which are mainly the rulers of the country or the regime itself. I mean, as people said, the head is cut, but the body is there, or the tail is there.
But the authorities, nonetheless, the military, for instance, is keen to show that they are going to pursue this old guard. We've heard of the arrest of several former cabinet ministers, including the former interior ministers. So this could possibly satisfy the crowds.
I mean, the crowd generally is not satisfied in general, because, they are too eager to get as much as you can. And, it's that feeling of the kind of mistrust or less trust towards who is taking decision. But generally, they have a good feeling towards this the Supreme Council of Military Forces, because they give some guarantees which include that, first of all, it's going to be a civilian leadership. Second, they are not interested to be part of these elections, the military. This is what they announced. Third, which is Egypt is not going back what was before 25th of January, which is a big steps. And that's why people say, we are trusting this Supreme Council. We feel optimistic, as we said, but is that doubt, and they want to see something which is mechanism which is working and affecting everyday life of Egyptians.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas Gorgesian. For the time being, we'll leave it there. Now, the Iraqi government has imposed a curfew in parts of the country in response to protests there. At least 3 people have been killed. In Basra, in the south, protesters blocked a bridge. They're calling on the provincial governor to quit and are demanding better services from the government. In Sulaymaniyah, a peaceful demonstration ended in stones being thrown at the headquarters of the Kurdistan Democratic Party. Security forces then shot back at the protesters, reportedly killing 2 people.